Shalom, Shalom, Shabbat, Adonai. Welcome to the Sixth Exodus program. Thank you for listening. The name of this segment is The Five Children of Adam and Eve. The Five Children of Adam and Eve. Okay, well, before we start reading, I want to tell you about these five children. I'd like to tell you their names. In the original text that was written, it records two boys, Adam and Eve. And then it records Seth. But actually, Adam and Eve had twins with Cain and Abel. Cain had a sister, a twin sister. Cain's sister's name was Leilua, and Abel had a sister. Her name was Aquia. I'd like to tell you about them. Before I tell you concerning Leilua, it's Cain's sister. Um, Adam and Eve wanted Abel to marry Leilua, but Cain didn't want to marry Aquia. He wanted to marry his own sister, but their parents didn't want that. So, um, of course, he killed his brother. It's another perspective as far as the death. Well, the accounts was right concerning the offering, but these are some other things that was going on also during that time that Cain slew his brother. Okay, after Cain had killed his brother, and Leilua found out about it. This is what happens when Leilua is spelled Lulwa. When Leilua heard Cain's words, she wept and went to her father and mother and told them how Cain had killed his brother Abel. Then they all cried aloud and lifted up their voice and slapped their faces and threw dust upon their heads and ripped their garments apart and went out and came to the place where Abel was killed. And they found him lying on the earth, killed, and beasts was around him. They wept and cried because he was a just person, because his body was pure, from it went forth a smell of sweet spices. And Adam carried him with tears streaming down his face, and he went to the cave of treasures where he laid Abel. And Adam wounded him up with sweet spices and myrrh. And Adam and Eve continued in great grief by the burial site, for 140 days did they weep and mourn for Abel. Abel was 15 and a half years old, and Cain 17 years and a half. When the mourning for his brother was ended, Cain took his sister Leah and married her without the permission from his father. Okay, I want to stop here for a minute and make a comment. Now, this might offend a lot of people, but I'm okay with it. I have peace with it. This is Leilua is the mother. That's what is called today's Chinese people. Um, Chinese people. I want to tell you, and I want to say to others that I myself am a black man. I have a black mother, a black father, and I am a Hebrew. Now, what do this have to do with Leilua? Okay, Chinese people um, are the second oldest civilization on Earth, and they have an excellent recording of their history without any stoppage. 4,500 years of accurate writings. But um, I will say this: they do not have any writings above 4,500 years. They have the time that they worshiped Buddhism. They have the time that they worship Confucianism, and they have the time when they start Taoism. Okay, but before that, they there is no recorded history because their history is our history, which has been hidden from them and from us. But I believe that this is the mother of what is called Chinese race, Leilua. Okay, let's continue. Verse 6. When the mourning for his brother was ended, Cain took his sister Leilua and married her without permission from his father and mother, because of their hearts was heavy. They could not keep him from her. He then went down to to the foot of the mountain, away from the garden, near the place where he had killed his brother. And in that place where there are many fruit trees and forest trees, his sister gave birth to his children, who in their turn began to multiply by degree until they filled the place. Adam and Eve did not come together to have intercourse for 7 years after Abel's funeral. After this, however, Eve conceived, and while she was with child, Adam called to her. Adam came to her. He came, let us take an offering and offer it unto God, and to ask him to give us a beautiful child in whom we may find comfort, in whom we may join in marriage with Abel's sister. Then they prepared an offering and brought it up to the altar and offered it before the Lord. and began to ask him to accept their offering, and gave them a good offering. And God heard Abram, Adam, and accepted his offering. Then Adam and Eve, their daughter, worshipped and came down to the cave of treasures and placed a lamp in it by the body of Abel to burn by day and by night. Then Adam and Eve continued fasting and praying until Eve's time came that she should be delivered. When she said to Adam, I wish to go to the cave in the rock to give birth in it. And it and he said, go and take your daughter with you to wait on you, but I will remain in this cave of treasure before the body of my son Abel. Then Eve listened to Adam, and she and her daughter left, but Adam remained by himself in the cave of treasure. Chapter 2. And Eve gave birth to a son, perfectly beautiful in form and in demeanor. His beauty was like that of his father Adam, yet more beautiful. Then Eve was comforted when she saw him, and remained 8 days in the cave. Then she, her daughter also Adam, to tell him to come see the child. The child named him, but the daughter stayed in his place by the body of her brother until Adam returned. But when Adam came and saw the child look good, his beauty and his form, he rejoiced over him and was comforted for Abel. Then he named the child Seth, which means that God had heard my prayer and has delivered me out of my affliction. But it mean also power and strength. Then after Adam had named the child, he returned to the cave of treasures, and his daughter went back to her mother. But Eve continued in her cave until 40 days were fulfilled. When she came to Adam and brought with her the child and her daughter, and they came to the river of water, where Adam and his daughter washed themselves because the sorrow of Abel. But Eve and the babe washed for purification. Then they returned and took an offspring and went to the mountain and offered it up for the babe. And God accepted their offering and sent his blessing upon them and upon their son Seth. And they came back to the cave of treasures. As for Adam, he did not have intercourse again with his wife Eve all the days of his life, neither was any more offspring born of them, but only these five: Cain, Leilua, Abel, Aquia. Aquila's name is spelled Aklia, Leilua name spelled Lulwa. Cain. Cain name is spelled Cain. Seth name is spelled Seth. Okay, these are the five children of Adam and Eve: Cain, Abel, Leilua, Aquia, and Seth. Okay, but Seth waxed in stature and strength, and began and to fast and to pray fervently. At the end of 7 years from the day Adam had been separated from his wife Eve, Satan envied him. And when he saw Adam was separated from her, Satan strove to make him live with her again. Then Adam arose and went up to the cave of treasures and continued to sleep there night by night. But every day, as soon as it was light, he came down to the cave to pray there and to receive a blessing from it. But when it was evening, he went up on top of the cave where he slept by himself, fearing that Satan could overcome him. And he continued apart in this way for 39 days. Then, when Satan, the hater of all that is good, saw Adam alone, fasting and praying, he appeared unto him in the form of a beautiful woman, who came and stood in front of him in the night of the 40th day, and said unto him, Adam, from the time you have dwelt in this cave, we have experienced great peace from you, and your prayers has reached us, and we have been comforted because of you. But now, Adam, that you have gone up over the roof of the cave to sleep, we have had doubts about you, and great sorrow has come upon us because your separation from Eve. Then again, when you are upon the roof of this cave, your prayers is poured out, and your heart wandered from side to side. But when you were in the cave, your prayers was like fire gathered together. It came down to us, and you found rest. Then I also worried over your children who were separated from you, and my sorrow is great because of the murder of your son Abel, because he was righteous. And over a righteous man everyone will grieve. But I rejoice over the birth of your son Seth. But after a little while I sorrow greatly over Eve, because she is my sister, for whom God sent a deep sleep over you, and drew her out of your side. He taught me out with her, but he raised her by placing her with you, while he lowered me. I rejoice over my sister, for her being with you. But God had made me a promise before and said, do not grieve. When Adam was gone up on the roof of the cave of treasures and is separated from Eve, his wife, I will send you to him, and you shall join yourself to him in marriage and bear 5 children for him, as Eve gave him 5 children. And now, look, God's promise to me is fulfilled, because it is he who has sent me to you for a wedding. Because if you wed me, I shall bear you finer and better children than those of Eve. You are still young. Do not end your youth in this world in sorrow. Spend your days of your youth in happiness and pleasure. Your days are few, and your trials have been great. Be strong and end your days in this world with rejoicing. I shall take pleasure in you, and you shall rejoice with me. In this way and without fear, get up and fulfill your command of your God. She then came near Adam and embraced him. But when Adam saw that he was going to be overcome by her, he prayed to God with a fervent heart to deliver him from her. Then God sent his word to Adam, saying, Adam, that apparition is the one that promised you the Godhead and majesty. He did not indeed good to you, but show yourself to you at one time in the form of a woman, and at another moment in the likeness of an angel. So Satan here is appearing as a woman before Adam to try to get him to conceive, to plant a seed inside of it. And on another occasion, he appeared as a serpent, and at another time in the assembly of a god, the appearance of a god. But he does only all of this only to destroy your soul. Adam, now that you understand this in your heart, you will see that I have delivered you many times from the hands in the order to show you that I am merciful and a merciful God. I wish you good, and I do not wish you ruin. Then God ordered Satan to show himself to Adam in his own hideous form plainly. But when Adam saw him, he feared and trembled at the sight of him. And God said unto Adam, look at this devil, and at his hideous sight, and know that he it is who made you fall from your brightness unto darkness, from peace and rest to toil and misery. And look at him, Adam. He is the one who said that he is God. Can God be like that? Can God be? But God take the form of a woman? Is there anyone stronger than God? And can he be overpowered? See, Adam, look at him bound in your presence, in the air, unable to flee away. So I say unto you, do not be afraid of him. From now on, take care and beware of him. He will try to do things to you. Then God drove Satan away from Adam, and God strengthened Adam's heart and comforted him, saying, go down to the cave of treasures and do not separate yourself from Eve. I will quiet all of your animal lust. From that hour it left Adam and Eve, and they rejoiced, rest by the commandments of God. But God did not do the same to any of Adam's seeds relations. God did this only to Adam and Eve. Then Adam worshipped before the Lord for delivering him from subdued his passions. And he came down from above the cave and lived with Eve and had done as had done before. This ended the 40 days of his separation from Eve. Then Seth was 7 years old. He knew good and evil and was consistent in fasting and praying, and spent all his nights in prayer to God for mercy and forgiveness. He also fasted when bringing up his offering every day. He fasted more than his father because his demeanor was beautiful, like that of an angel of God. He also had a good heart, and his soul was precious. And for this reason, he brought up his offerings every day, and God was pleased with his offerings. But he was also pleased with his purity, and he continued doing the will of God and of his father and mother until he was 7 years old. After that, he was coming down from the altar after giving his offering. Satan appeared to him in the form of a beautiful angel, brilliant with light, with a staff of light in his right hand, and wrapped with a girdle of light. He greeted Seth with a beautiful smile and began to beguile him with beautiful words, saying to him, Seth, why do you live in this mountain? It is rough, full of stones and sand, and trees with no good fruits on them. It is a wilderness without houses or towns, no good place to live. But everywhere there is heat, wilderness, and trouble. He said, Father, we have lived in beautiful places in a world other than this earth. Our world is one of light, and we live in the best of conditions. Our women are more beautiful than any others. Seth, I wish you to marry one of them because I see that you are handsome to look at. In this land, there is not one woman good enough for you, and there is only 5 souls in it. But in our world, there are many men and women, young, unmarried, all more beautiful one than another. So I wish you to remove you from here so that you can see my relations and be wedded to each everyone like you. You shall live by me and be at peace. You shall be filled with glory and light, just as we are. You shall remain in our world and rest from this world and its misery. You shall never again feel weak and weary. You shall never bring up an offering or appeal for mercy. You shall commit no more sin, nor be swayed by passion. And if you will listen to what I say, you shall wed one of my daughters, because to us it is not a sin. It is not considered animal lust. For in our world we have no God, because we are all gods, and we are the light of our heavenly, powerful, strong, and glorious. When Seth heard these words, he was amazed and began to believe Satan's treacherous speech, and said unto him, You said, There is another world created other than this one, and there are other creatures more beautiful than the creatures that are in this world? And Satan said, Yes, have heard me correctly, and I would tell you more good things about them and their ways. But Seth said unto him, Your words have amazed me, and your beautiful description of it all. But I cannot go with you today, at least not until I have gone to my father Adam and to my mother Eve, and told them all you have said to me. Then, if they give me permission to go with you, I will come. Seth said, I'm afraid of doing anything without my father and mother's permission. I do not want them to perish like my brother Cain and like my father Adam, and transgress the commandments of God. But you know your way to this place, so come and meet me tomorrow. When Satan heard this, he said to Seth, if you tell your father, Adam, what I told you, he will not let you come with me. But listen to me. Do not tell your father and mother what I have said to you. Instead, come with me today. Come now to our world, where you will see beautiful things and enjoy yourself there, and celebrate this day amongst my children, watching them and taking your fill of happiness, and have joy there. Then I shall bring you back to this place tomorrow. However, if you would rather stay there with me, so be it. Then Satan answered, the hope, love, spirit of my father and of my mother hangs on me. And if I hide them one day, they will die, and God will hold me guilty of sinning against them. And if they knew that I would come to this place, they will assume it is to bring up my offerings, and not they would expect not to be separated from me 1 hour. Neither should I go any place unless they let me. But they treat me most kindly, because I always come back to them quickly. Then Satan said unto him, what will happen to you if you were to disappear from them one night, and return to them at daybreak? But Seth, when he saw how he kept trying on talking, and that he would not leave him alone, he ran and went up to the altar and spread his hands before God, and sought deliverance from Satan through God. Then God sent his word and cursed Satan, who fled from him. But Seth had gone up to the altar, saying in his heart, the altar is this place of offering, and God is there. A divine fire shall come, what is on it, and so Satan will be unable to hurt me, and shall not take me away from here. Then Seth came down from the altar and went to his father and to his mother, whom he found on his way, and who was longing to hear his voice, because he had been missing for a while. He then began to tell them what had happened and what had befallen him from Satan under the form of an angel. But when Adam heard his account, he kissed his face and warned him against that angel, telling him it was Satan who appeared unto him. Then Adam took Seth, and they went into the cave of treasures and rejoiced there. But from that day on, Adam and Eve were never separated from him wherever he went, whether for his offering or for anything else. This sign happened to Seth when he was 9 years old. When our father Adam saw that Seth was of a perfect heart, he wished him to marry, lest the enemy should appear to him another time and overcome him. Adam said to his son Seth, I wish, O my son, that you wed your sister Aquia, Abel's sister, that she may bear you children, who shall replenish the earth, according to God's promise to us. Be not afraid, my son, there is no disgrace in it. I wish you to marry from fear that if you do not, the enemy could overcome you. Seth, however, did not wish to marry, but in obedience to his father and mother, he did not say a word. Adam married him to Aquia, and he was 15 years old. But when he was 20 years of age, he had a son, whom he called Enos. And then had other children. And Enos grew up, married, and begot Canaan. Canaan grew up and married and begot Mahalalel. Those fathers was born during Adam's lifetime and dwelt by the cave of treasures. Then were the days of Adam 930 years, and those of Mahalalel 100. But Mahalalel, when he was grown up, loved fasting, praying, and with hard work until the end of our fathers Adam grew near. When our father Adam saw that his end was near, he called his son Seth, who came to him in the cave of treasures. And he said unto him, Seth, my son, bring me your children and your children's children, so that I may shed my blessings on them before I die. So Seth heard these words from his father Adam. He went from him, shed a few tears over his face, and gathered together his children and his children's children, and brought them to his father Adam. But when our father Adam saw them around him, he wept at having to be separated from them. And when he saw them weeping, they all wept together and kissed his face, saying, How shall you be separated from us, Father? And how shall the earth receive you and hide you from our eyes? And they lamented with words like these. Then our father Adam blessed them all and said unto Seth, after he blessed them, Seth, my son, you know this world, and that it is full of sorrow and of weariness, and you know all that has come upon us from our trials in it. So I command you in these words. I want you to keep being innocent, to be pure and just and trusting in God, and do not believe in the words of Satan, nor the apportions and the appearances in which he will show himself to you. But keep the commandments that I give you this day. Then give the same to your son Enoch, and Enoch give them to his son Canaan, and Canaan to his son Mahalalel, so that this commandment abides and firm among your children. Seth, my son, the moment I am dead, take you my body and wrap it with myrrh, aloes, and cassia, and leave me here in the cave of treasures, in which are all the tokens which God has given us from the garden. My son, after a while, a flood will come and overwhelm all the creatures, and leave only 8 souls of it. But my son, let those whom it will leave from among you, your children, at that time take my body with them out of this cave. And when they leave, take it with them. Let the oldest amongst them command his children to lay my body in a ship until the flood recedes, and they come out from the ship. Then they shall take my body and lay it in the middle of the earth. Shortly after they have been saved from the waters of the flood, then place where my body shall be laid in the middle of the earth, and God shall come from that place and shall save your kindred. But now, Seth, my son, place yourselves at the head of your people. Tend to them and watch over them in the fear of God. Lead them in a good way. Command them to fast to God, and make them to understand they should not listen to Satan, or he will destroy them. I tell you again, separate your children and your children's children from Cain's children. Do not let them ever mix with them, nor come near them, neither talk or to work. Then Adam let his blessings descend upon Seth, and upon his children, and upon all his children's children. He then turned to Seth his son, and to Eve his wife, and said to them, preserve this gold, this incense, and this myrrh that God has given us for a sign, because in the days are coming, a flood will overwhelm the whole creation. But those who shall go into the ark shall take with them the gold, the incense, the myrrh, together with my body, and will lay the gold, the incense, and the myrrh with my body in the middle of the earth. Then, after a long time, the city in which the gold, the incense, and the myrrh are found with my body shall be plundered. But when it is spoiled, the gold and the incense and the myrrh shall be taken care with the spoil that is kept, and none of them shall perish until the made man from which the world of God shall come, and kings shall take them and shall offer them gold and tokens of his being king, the incense and tokens of his being God of heaven and earth, and myrrh and tokens of his passion. God also, as a token of his overcoming Satan and all our foes, incense as a token that he will raise from the dead and be exalted above all things in heaven and things in the earth, and myrrh and tokens that he will drink bitter gall and feel the pain of hell from Satan. And now saith my son, I have revealed to you the hidden mysteries which God has revealed unto me. Keep my commandments for yourself and for your people. When Adam had ended his commandments to Seth, his limbs went lump, his hand and his feet lost their strength, his voice became silence, and his tongue ceased to speak. He closed his eyes and gave up the ghost. But when his children saw that he was dead, they threw themselves over him, men and women, young and old, weeping. The death of Adam took place at the end of 939 years that he lived upon the earth. On the 15th day of Bumarda, after the reckoning of an impact of the sun at the ninth hour, it was on a Friday, the very day on which he was created, and on the which he rested, and the hour at which he died was the same as that at which he came out of the garden. Then Seth wrapped him well and embalmed him with plenty of spices, and from sacred trees, and from the holy mountain. And he laid his body on the eastern side of the inside of a cave, the side of the incense, and placed a lampstand in the front of him that kept burning. Then his children stood before him weeping and wailing over him the entire night until daybreak. Then Seth and his son Enos and Canaan, the son of Enos, went out and took good offerings to present them to the Lord. And they came upon the altar which Adam offered a gift to God. But Eve said unto him, Wait until we have first asked God to accept our offering and to keep the soul of Adam, his servant, by him, and to take up the rest. And they stood up and prayed. And when they had ended their prayer, the word of God came and supported them concerning their father Adam. After this, they offered gifts for themselves and for their father. And then they had ended their offerings. The word of God came to Seth, the eldest among them, saying to them, Seth, 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 3 times as Isaac was with your father, so also will I be with you, until the fulfillment, the promise I made with your father, saying, I will send my word and save you and your seed. But as for your father Adam, keep you the commandment he gave you, and protect your seed, your offspring, and keep them from that Cain your brother. And God withdrew his word from Seth. Then Seth, Eve, and their children came down from the mountain to the cave of treasures. But Adam was the first whose soul died in the land of Eden, in the cave of treasures, for no one did before him but his son Abel, who did because he was murdered. Then all the children of Adam arose up and went over their father Adam and made offerings to him 140 days. After the death of Adam and Eve, Seth separated the children and his children from Cain's children. Cain and his seed went down to live to the west, below the place where he had killed Abel's brother. But Seth and his children lived to the north on the mountain of the cave of treasure, in order to be near their father Adam. And Seth, the oldest of his people, tall and good, with a worthy soul and a strong mind, stood at the head of his people and tended to them in innocence, patience, and meekness, and did not allow even one of them to go to Cain's children. And because of their purity, they were named children of God, and they were with good instead. The host of angels who fell, for they continued in praise to God, and to sing songs to him in their cave, the cave of treasures. Then Seth stood there before the bodies of his father Adam and his mother Eve, And he prayed night and day and asked for mercy for himself and his children. And when he had made some difficulties dealing with a child, God would give him counsel. But Seth and his children did not like mundane work, but set themselves to do heavenly things because they had no one through others than praise, worship, and songs to God. Therefore, they all the time hear the works of angels praising and glorifying God from within the garden when they were sent by God on an errand, when they were going up to the heavens because their own purity. Seth and his children heard and saw the angels. The garden was not far above them, only about 15 cubits. One spiritual cubit is equal to 3 cubits of man, altogether 40 cubits. Seth and his children lived on the mountain below the garden. They did not sow nor reap. They made no food for their body, not even wheat, but enough of offerings, and ate the favorable fruit trees that grew on the mountain where they lived. Seth often fasted for 40 days, and did also his oldest children. The family of Seth smelled and smelled of the trees in the garden. When they blew their way, they were happy, innocent, without sudden fear. There was no jealousy, no evil affection, nor hatred among them. There was no animal passion. No one amongst them spoke neither foul words or cursed. There was neither evil intentions nor fraud. The men of that time never swore, but were under hard circumstances. When men must swear, they swear by the blood of Abel the just. But every day they compelled their children and their women to fast and pray and to worship the Most High in the cave. They blessed themselves by bearing near the body of their father Adam and anointed themselves with it. And they did so until the end of Seth drew near. Okay, we're going to stop there. Wait, no, we're not. We're going to continue. I'm going to read this one more chapter. Then I will end this chapter. Okay. Then Seth the just called his son Enos, and Canaan the son of Enos, and Mahalaleel the son of Canaan, and said unto them, My end is near, and I wish to build a roof over the altar on which gifts are offered. They listened to his commandments, and all of them. And Seth thought was that by doing this blessing should come upon the children of the mountains, and through he should present an offering for them for his death. Then, when the building of the roof was completed, he commanded them to make an offering. They should work diligently, and brought them to Seth their father, who took the offering upon the altar and prayed God to accept their offering, to have mercy upon their souls and his children, and to keep them from the hand of Satan. God accepted his offering and sent their blessings on them and his children. Then God made a promise to Seth, saying, at the end of the great 5 days and a half, which is the promise I have made to your father, I will send my word and save you and your seed. Then Seth and his children and grandchildren met together and came down from the altar and went to the cave of treasures, where they prayed, and he blessed them and the body of their father Adam, and anointed them with it. But Seth stayed in the cave of treasures a few days, and then suffered sufferings to death. Then Enos, his firstborn son, came to him with Canaan, his son, and Mahalalel, Canaan's son, and Jared, the son of Mahalalel, and Enos' son, Jared's son, and with their wives and children to receive a blessing from Seth. Then Seth prayed over them and blessed them earnestly, requesting them by the blood of Abel the just, saying, I beg of you, my children, not to let one of you go down from this holy mountain and the pure mountain. Do not associate with the children of Cain, the murderers and the sinners who killed his brother. You know, my children, that we flee from him and from all his sins with all our might, because he killed his brother Abel. Okay, I'm going to stop reading there. And thank you for listening to 6 Exodus. And this ends the segment of the 5 children of Adam and Eve. And there's a lot more to tell you, but not in this segment. I'll tell you a lot more later about the 5 sons of Adam and Eve, because this is at the very beginning of life, and where a lot of us, where we so anxiously want to know more about our ancestors and where we come from and who we come from. Like the beginning races of the world. Um, and there have been so much evil in the world since the beginning. But the same people doing the same evil things. But in God's people, after 5,500 years, what is expected of them and what will happen, what God still has in store for his people. And he has not forgotten his covenant. I tell you, we have a long history, and everything is about to come into fruition. And Satan is still being Satan. So, amen. God's people is going to be God's people. Okay, thank you for listening. Have a great day. Until we meet again, Mitzvah. Sorry this segment is so long.